What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Beyond the Backboard Podcast, another special episode of 2 Minute Drill. My name is Omar, and next to me are my two beautiful co-hosts, Max and Earl. Today, we were hit with the sudden firing yesterday of Taylor Jenkins, the Memphis Grizzlies. He had a 7-year tenure with them, and was a total of 250 to 217. To start off this discussion, who wants to start, or should I start? Up to you guys.
Go ahead, Omar.
All right. To start off this discussion, wow, to say the least. This was a really weird move in my opinion because it's one of those situations. I believe we talked about it earlier this year as well, where we all felt like the firing of what's that coach? I'm sorry, I'm blanking. Mike Brown was a little premature, and we thought that he could still coach a young team, even if the Sacramento Kings wanted to go in a certain direction. I feel like this is the same situation. I feel like Taylor Jenkins has been really good to the bench. I really feel like he's been giving a lot of these guys opportunities, and like to each their own. But Jalen Wells balling, Gigi Jackson balling, and they're all becoming great NBA players because of the time that they are given and the trust they are given. So I want to see what this assistant coach does. Maybe he kind of follows in the footsteps. Maybe this is a Joe Mazzulla, what's his name? Ime Udoka situation where, he takes over and he becomes the head coach for sure. And maybe they move on. But to be honest, again, this seems like a really, really weird decision. And I'm just wondering what's really going through Memphis's brain, because according to Shams, he was just called in and was just let go just like that. I thought they gave him an option or something, considering how they worded it, parted ways. But I don't know. This just seems like a really weird decision. I think Ja is at the core of it too, but I'm going to rescind my last 10 seconds.
All right, I can pick it up where Omar left off here.
2 minutes start.
Off for last.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do agree with the fact that this was very surprising. Obviously, this is not the news that I think any of us were expecting to wake up to Friday morning, clearly including Taylor Jenkins himself. I will push back a little bit and say I don't think it's all that similar to the Mike Brown situation, because at the very least with Mike Brown, the Kings were underperforming. They were on a losing streak. It was midway through the season, which is more so the time when you do see coaches fired. I'm not going to sit here and say it was a good or bad sign. I'm just saying in terms of the situation surrounding it, I think that was a little bit more usual to what a head coach you would expect, or when you would expect a head coach to be fired. I don't think we've ever seen a head coach fired this late into the season of a team that is entering into the playoffs, that has high hopes in the playoffs. Certainly you could argue that Memphis has overachieved in this regular season, and I think a lot of that has to do with Coach Jenkins. But you could also say that this team is where they expect to be. They have deep playoff hopes because of Taylor Jenkins. So to think, maybe he's overrated, maybe he's underrated. He was 4th or 5th in the Coach of the Year running. You don't see Coach of the Year candidates get fired weeks before the playoffs start. So that has me thinking that this has to be some sort of non-basketball decision, some sort of drama, some situation arose behind the scenes very suddenly and kind of forced Memphis's hand as we really don't want to fire you, but we kind of have to. I'm not going to speculate on what that could be, but certainly if this is a basketball move, that makes zero sense. So in my mind, that points to it being something else. Replacing him is going to be, I hope I get his name right, Tomas Lisalo, I believe, former EuroLeague coach, current Memphis Grizzlies, or I guess not former Memphis Grizzlies assistant coach, now the interim head coach. He has a very deep resume. I believe he coached He coached France in the Paris Olympics this past offseason. So
yeah.
He's got a good resume. Hopefully he can take over, do a good job, take control of that locker room instantly. The players respect him. He can put together a game plan in the short-term future that helps Memphis, because if they flame out of the playoffs in the first round, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at this decision to fire Taylor Jenkins and questioning it.
All right. Next 2 minutes goes to Earl, starting now.
All right, guys. I get it. Jenkins, great coach. But the problem is, outside looking in, we're not Grizzlies fans. So I made a tweet yesterday basically saying, hey, What's up with Grizzly fans? I tagged two of my favorite Grizzly creators. Shout out to Zinzi and Big Mem. Huge Grizzlies fans. They watch every single game. And basically they were telling me, and pretty much every response I had on that post is, as a Grizzlies fan, watching game to game, Jenkins was not a great coach for this team. And the Grizzlies have struggled to beat any top teams this year. I think their last win against, I guess you can even say a good team, was the Clippers. Other than that, I mean, their wins include the Jazz, one sprinkled in, a couple versus the Suns, which they haven't been good this year. Lost by 2 to the Hawks a couple nights ago. And they had a streak of losing like 3 or 4 games by buzzer beaters in a row, which is absolutely insane to even think about it. So
yeah, this week
obviously, outside looking in, I get Jenkins is a good coach. Like Max said, coach of the year candidate. But sometimes, just to add on to it too, they talked about how he doesn't play Ja. They don't play Ja, like, one, they don't utilize him correctly, and two, his minutes for some reason always fluctuate. Even when he's not injured, he's not out there on the court as much as he should be. And I think that's a problem. Like, if your superstar is not acclimated to your game plan consistently, I mean, that's a problem, especially going into the playoffs. I get it. Tough time to lose a coach. I agree. When I first seen the news, I was shocked. I was on this side too. But it seems like maybe it's bigger than what we thought as far as the locker room. We talk about locker room guys. Apparently, Mike Brown lost the locker room. And Grizzlies fans are saying pretty much the same thing happened with Taylor Jenkins. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I got to cut you off there. Let's do the 2 minutes collective thoughts. I gotta disagree with Max on the one thing that he said, that this wasn't related to the Mike Brown incident. It's more related to the Mike Brown incident. I mean, yesterday we brought up, and me and Max were live. Earl couldn't make it that day, but yesterday we were live in playback. We discussed it for like a brief 10 minutes before we got into our games for the weekend. And Max, what did you say again? I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said it's more similar to the Ime Udoka situation.
Yeah. And it's... no. That man was.
I promise you, it's no scandal, bro. It's literally it was a fit problem. It sounds crazy because they're the 5th seed, but like, I know Max was like, it's not about Darvin Ham. It's totally different. I get that, but same people were telling us, you guys are winning. You guys went to the Western Conference Finals. Why y'all complaining? But in this case, like, it looks good sometimes. Yeah, you get a couple wins, but not all those wins are because of the coach, I'll say. A lot of that is the personnel.
But even the Lakers waited until the offseason to fire Darvin Ham, which I think is the right move. I think if it is a fit decision, and if that is the case, and again, I was just speculating on scantling. If it truly is just a basketball decision, they don't like the direction that Jenkins is taking this team, then fair enough. But I think at the very least, considering what he has done for this team and the core that he has built, I think you give him at least this playoffs to prove himself. Give him a chance to prove himself. He's gotten that team in a position to the playoffs. He deserves to lead them into the postseason and prove himself that he deserves to keep that job for next year. I think firing him now does not help your odds this postseason. It's premature. It is
premature. I agree.
What he built.
But added to that too, like,
but I think it was the locker room issue, like you did mention, Earl. It was that he lost the locker room. I think that was the main issue. Continue what you were going to say. We have 10 seconds.
Like, adding to that as well, like, the Grizzlies have no momentum going into the playoffs at all. So it's like, okay, do we go in with Jenkins? Like you said, we could do that. 4. Give him time to settle in the playoffs. Or do you just completely ride on the hope of a new coach? I'll just finish the last sentence. But do you ride in on the hopes of having a new coach like the Kings did? Of course, they're sucking now, but do you ride off that momentum of the team buying into a new coach? And I think that's what they need, just something completely different. So,
and I completely agree. I think they need something different, but unfortunately, this time we do have to end it here. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in on this episode of 2 Minute Drill. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We're only like 2 subscribers away from 100. If you guys want to be the 100th subscriber, please. And then as soon as we pass 100 followers, we will be announcing a giveaway. For 500 subscribers, there will be a Funko Pop that I have yet to choose from, but a Funko Pop, an anime Funko Pop, will be delivered to you guys if you guys are the 500th follower. That will be announced after the 100th follower or subscriber. Thank you guys so much. See us in playback during the week on Tuesdays and Fridays, and catch us here on the weekend on 2 Minute Drill. Thank you guys so much. Again, appreciate every single one of you guys. Peace. All right, boom. Good pod.